Mainland tourists explore cultural aspects of Hong Kong. Rough weather expected in the city this weekend. And Israel intercepts Gaza 8 flotilla. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Today is the second day of the Mainland Golden Week holidays. Some tourists from the north say they wish to explore Hong Kong through its cultural aspects. As of 4 p.m., nearly 190,000 mainland travelers arrived in Hong Kong on this day. Memo Sengai reports.
The old Yau Ma Tei police station was popular with mainland tourists on the second day of their Golden Week holiday. What is so attractive about this Edwardian architecture constructed in 1922 for the visitors?
I have seen some situation made we have seen in the field, very old field like 古惑仔, but I feel I like this movie very much. So I take my kids and my family here. I think it's mixed. One side is modern, and another side is very local culture. Yes, mixed together. So it depends on us how you find the way to visit.
是从小红书上看到攻略。
I discovered the police station on social media, Xiaohongshu, and wanted to come here to see it myself, this Shanghai visitor who will stay in the city for 4 days explained. But this man and his friends chose Shenzhen's accommodation over Hong Kong ones. He said the accommodation across the border is more cost-effective. Gold prices have hit a record high of more than $3,800 an ounce on Wednesday. At this gold shop, some mainland customers said they think the precious metal will continue to grow in value, so they will look into buying some. On Wednesday, or the National Day, more than 550,000 travelers arrived in the city. Over 230,000 were mainlanders, a 5% increase compared to the previous Golden Week holiday. Timothy Cho, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Tourism Association, said Hong Kong is one of the top travel destinations for mainlanders during this Golden Week holiday. Cho said that about 60 to 70% of people on the mainland have never visited the territory. The Immigration Department estimates that the number of inbound and outbound travelers using land boundary control points will be high on October 4th, with roughly 660,000 passengers. Memos 9, TVB News.
The value of Hong Kong's total retail sales increased by 3.8% year-on-year in August, marking a rise for 4 consecutive months. According to the Census and Statistics Department, the total retail sales value in August was provisionally estimated at $30.3 billion. The sales value of jewelry, watches, clocks, and luxury gifts saw the highest increase, up by about 16% year-on-year. Medicines and cosmetics rose by 5%. Retail sales fell for commodities in supermarkets, food, alcoholic drinks, and tobacco. Among them, fuels fell the most by 11%. The government spokesman says more stable local consumer sentiment, coupled with a growth in the number of visitors to Hong Kong and the government's active promotion of tourism and mega events, should support the city's retail business. The observatory will consider issuing the standby signal number 1 on Friday night, with tropical cyclone Matmo forecast to enter within 800 kilometers of Hong Kong. The weather was scorching hot during the day. The observatory says tropical cyclone Matmo will move across Luzon on Friday. Matmo will move towards Leizhou Peninsula to the eastern part of Hainan Island over the weekend and intensify gradually. Weather authorities forecast that the weather will become more uncertain on Saturday and Sunday. Special Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Hong Kong, Cui Jian-chun, met with Julie Ide, the U.S. Consul General in Hong Kong, on Tuesday. Cui lodged solemn representations on Ide's conduct since she assumed her duties. Commissioner Cui urged Ide to abide by fundamental norms governing international relations, including non-interference in domestic affairs and making a clean break from anti-China forces. Cui explicitly stated the 4 don'ts requirements, namely, don't meet the people who the Consul General shouldn't meet with, don't collude with anti-China forces, don't instigate, assist, abet, or fund any activities that undermine stability in Hong Kong, and don't interfere with national security cases in Hong Kong. Police in the UK said 4 people have been injured today after a car was driven at members of the public and a man was stabbed outside a synagogue in the north of Manchester. The incident, which took place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, is said to be over after a man, believed to be the offender, was shot by police. In a series of posts on X, Greater Manchester Police said they were called to the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Crumpsall shortly after 9:30 a.m. by a member of the public. He said he witnessed a car being driven towards people and that one man had been stabbed. Police said that minutes later, shots were fired by officers. It said 4 people were being treated for injuries caused by both the vehicle and stab wounds. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said in a post on X that he was appalled by the attack. Israel's defense minister on Wednesday ordered all remaining Palestinians to leave Gaza City, saying it was their last opportunity and that anyone who stayed would be considered a Hamas supporter. Egypt and Qatar has sought more clarification on U.S. President Donald Trump's peace proposal, which Hamas is considering. Meanwhile, some of the global Summit flotilla boats trying to deliver aid to Gaza have been boarded by Israeli forces. Nasser Karim with more.
He said, "We left our food, drink, belongings, blankets and everything else. We left with only our souls." In central Deir al-Balah, Israeli jets hit a tent beside the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. The venue had earlier held funeral prayers for Palestinian freelance journalist Yahya Barzakh, who was working for Turkish outlet TRT. He was among at least 5 Palestinians killed and 12 injured in the earlier Israeli strike. This as Egypt and Qatar urge more negotiations on certain elements of Trump's peace proposal, which Hamas has said it would review with other factions. While Trump said Arab countries accept his plans, online reports say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made edits that infuriated many. A Hamas official earlier reportedly said the proposal serves Israel's interest and ignores the Palestinian people. The plan requires Hamas to lay down their arms, replaced by an interim government under a board of peace, headed by Trump and aided by former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, with a vague pathway towards eventual Palestinian statehood. Meanwhile, Israel's foreign ministry posted a video on X showing activist Greta Thunberg after Israel had taken control of a vessel that is part of a flotilla trying to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. The ministry said she and her friends are safe and healthy. The global Summit flotilla also sent their own footage showing Israeli forces boarding one of the boats. They said at least 19 of over 50 vessels were boarded. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
With the government shutdown currently in effect in the U.S., the Trump administration has begun targeting projects in multiple Democratic-leaning states with funding freezes of some $26 billion. Vice President J.D. Vance warned federal layoffs would follow if the shutdown lasts more than a few days. Danny Zhou reports.
Just hours into the federal government shutdown on Wednesday, the White House announced it was putting on hold about $18 billion for transit projects in New York City, specifically affecting the Hudson Tunnel project and the 2nd Avenue subway. The freeze also included $8 billion in funding related to green energy projects in 16 states, including California and Illinois, all of which voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. This as President Donald Trump carried out his threat to leverage the shutdown to punish his political opponents. The White House press secretary suggested that mass layoffs will begin imminently. Vice President J.D. Vance also said the administration may extend its purge of federal workers if the shutdown drags on, even as he said no final decision has been made. About 750,000 employees are expected to be placed on furlough. Many others, such as troops and border guards, began to work without pay. New York Governor Kathy Hochul blamed the situation on a deliberate decision made by President Trump and the Republicans. In the state of Maryland, Governor Wes Moore called a halt to the government shutdown.
We will do everything in our power to deliver relief to those who are struggling. But I also want to be clear that there is not a single state in this country that is prepared to fill this enormous gap that is being created by this federal administration.
No new talks have been scheduled after Trump failed to strike a deal with congressional leaders over budget priorities. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the Trump administration is attacking Americans' jobs while pushing up the costs, but he also expressed willingness to reach an agreement in good faith with the Republicans.
We also have to make sure that if we reach an agreement that has bipartisan support in the House and in the Senate, is signed into law by President Trump, that the administration can't then come behind that agreement and in a partisan way undo funding for programs and for support that matters to the American people.
Danny Joe, TVB News.
And still ahead, renowned conservationist Jane Goodall died aged 91. Mainland tourist attraction rolls out wartime roleplay. And PLA sailors share details about life at sea. Welcome back. Donald Trump said soybean purchases will be a major topic of discussion with President Xi Jinping when they meet at the end of the month. Trump posted on social media that farmers in his country are being hurt as China stopped buying the staple for negotiating reasons. He vowed to stand behind the farmers and fund them with a small portion of tariff revenues. Trump earlier said he would meet Xi at the upcoming Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea, as both sides arrived at a framework consensus on trade. China, the world's largest importer of soybeans, boycotted the purchase of American soybeans from May and pivoted to Brazil in recent months. Jane Goodall, the conservationist, renowned for her groundbreaking chimpanzee field research and globe-spanning environmental advocacy, has died. She was 91. The Jane Goodall Institute made the announcement in a post on Instagram on Wednesday. Nasri Karim reports.
While living among chimpanzees in Africa decades ago, Goodall documented the animals using tools and doing other activities previously believed to be exclusive to people. She also noted their distinct personalities. Her observations and subsequent magazine and documentary appearances in the 60s not only transformed how the world perceived the apes, but also the emotional and social complexity of all animals, while propelling her into the public consciousness. In her later years, Goodall devoted decades to education and advocacy on humanitarian causes and protecting the natural world. From her base in the coastal UK town of Bournemouth, she travelled nearly 300 days a year well into her 80s to speak to packed auditoriums around the world.
Hello.
During speeches, she would often whoop like a chimpanzee or joke that Tarzan chose the wrong Jane. Born in London in 1934, Goodall has earned top civilian honours from a number of countries, including Britain, France, Japan and Tanzania. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2025 by Joe Biden and won the prestigious Templeton Prize in 2021.
That we need to recognize at the outset that what we do to animals, from their perspective certainly, and probably from ours, is morally wrong and unacceptable. And that it's really important to follow through all these exciting new leads into ways of doing research without using animals, and do that. You know, where is the big encouragement? Where's the political will? Where is the funding for this kind of research?
Nasri Karim, TVB News.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of deliberately staging an attack that cut off power to the decommissioned Chernobyl nuclear power station. Zelensky alleged Moscow had created the risk of nuclear incidents through power cutoffs at Chernobyl and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russia denied it would bomb the plant, which is now in its hands, but had not commented on the attack that cut power to Chernobyl. The Ukrainian president was traveling to Denmark, where he would join European leaders in a meeting on the continent's security. He said Europe must unite to limit buying Russian resources, especially oil. Earlier, Zelensky met with Britain's Princess Anne, who was in Kyiv, and visited a memorial for children killed in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Buckingham Palace said her visit was to draw attention to the traumatic experiences of children living on the front line of the conflict. A collapse at a church under construction in Ethiopia killed at least 36 people and injured scores of others. The accident happened in Amhara, northern Ethiopia, as worshippers gathered for an annual event celebrating St. Mary. Many worshippers were reported to have climbed up the wooden scaffolding to see a ceiling mural when the support structure collapsed. Victims included children and elderly people. A local hospital is seeking help from the Red Cross for more than 100 of those injured. Throughout the National Day, Golden Week and Mid-Autumn holidays, scenic spots across the mainland have rolled out various campaigns to entice customers. In Shandong, a tourist attraction offers a wartime role-play experience, allowing visitors to step back into the battlefield during the war of resistance against Japanese aggression. Smoke and the sound of cannon blasts fill the site. This is not a movie set, but an immersive tourist attraction in Shandong, launched during the National Day holidays with wartime role-play experiences for tourists, reenacting scenes during the anti-Japanese war of aggression at the moment of victory in the battle. In Hubei's Jingzhou, famous for the classic tale of Liu Bei boring Jingzhou, tourists are treated to a Three Kingdoms-themed performance, blending live acting and animations to bring the literary classics to life. In the ancient town of Chengxiang in Chengdu, a Song Dynasty wedding ceremony reenactment draws tourists to soak up the spectacle. Down south, cities across Guangdong, including Foshan, Dongguan, and Meizhou, have opened up government office car parks for free, while Shantou has added more than 17,000 temporary parking spaces to ease congestions. In Shende, even the government canteens have thrown open its doors, offering tourists hearty meals at 20 yuan. From now on, the public can make payments in Japan using their Octopus Card app. Octopus said no handling fee will be charged and the exchange rate is lower than that of most credit cards and e-wallets. That's from a collaboration between Octopus Card and Japanese mobile payment provider PayPay, which allows users to make instant payments in Hong Kong dollars with millions of merchants in Japan. It can be done using Octopus app's PayPay QR code feature or through the Octopus wallet. Users must authenticate their account in advance and make sure to activate top-up services. The maximum daily transaction amount is set at 30,000 Hong Kong dollars. The People's Liberation Army Navy's Qijiguang training ship and Yimengshan amphibious dock landing ship were open to the public for the second day. Pre-registered residents can hop on board and chat with the crew about life at sea. Celine Chan was on the warships.
A beautiful welcome for pre-registered guests even before they set foot on the ship. Flags strung up from the bow to the stern were fluttering in the wind. Dressing ship is a time-honored naval tradition where a vessel is adorned with flags and pennants to celebrate special events or occasions. And how was the Chinese Navy forged? Navy cadets on the Qijiguang were happy to share. Mr. Lee said they put on their life vests and sunglasses every morning and head to designated spots to measure the sun's position while sailing. Some visitors came wearing ancient Chinese costumes from the Tang Dynasty.
Like to share our joy and our traditional Chinese costume like hanfu to the world, and we want to maybe do some crossover with the military how can we say this, the warships.
Some crew members visited Hong Kong for the first time. Mr. Luo shared his excitement by singing a cantopop song, A Life Without Regret by the band Beyond. Luo said he's a huge fan of Hong Kong culture and grew up watching TVB dramas. The Qijiguang is packed with high-tech gear, from the navigation tools to machine guns that can hit targets miles away. Many visitors could not resist the temptation to get a hands-on feel. Government officials such as Tai Chin-wan, Secretary for Environment and Ecology, and Rosanna Law, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, also visited the warships. Law said this was her first time on a warship and she was delighted. She said she'll discuss with tourism industry representatives future warship visits. The warships are off to Cambodia, Singapore and Thailand next. They'll also hold open days when they dock to let overseas Chinese come check them out. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.